Caitlin Swain is with us. She is an attorney with the Advancement Project, advancementproject.org. And just imagine what would have happened if the Tea Party last Saturday had 80,000 people show up to protest, Jerry Brown's raising taxes in California, and they had shown up in Fresno or something. Every news agency in the country would have had a truck there. There would have been reporters standing in line. They would have been beating each other with microphones over the head, to get out of my way. I want to get in front of that camera. So we talked some yesterday about what happened in North Carolina, but Caitlin, welcome to the program.
Thanks so much, Tom. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us. Tell us let's reboot this story here. What happened on Saturday that the American corporate media virtually completely ignored?
Well, Tom, I think that you've hit the nail on the head that this was a truly historic event this weekend. Over 80,000 folks came out in North Carolina to stand up against the avalanche of harmful legislation that came through in 2013 session, and to lift up a new agenda for the state of North Carolina, putting forward, a people's agenda for the state. And I think what's most exciting, for those of us who've been working with the North Carolina NAACP, that's really been leading this moral movement in North Carolina, was to see the diversity of folks who came out, people from the civil rights community, faith-based community, labor, students, women's rights, environmental activists, LGBTQ rights, and immigrant justice communities. We're all standing up together with one voice saying, enough is enough in North Carolina. We can do better.
Well, isn't that in part because ever since this multimillionaire, his name is Poe too, isn't it? Pope. Yeah, that's right. Art Pope. Thank you. Having just done an errata on this news story, I've got this name stuck in my head. Yeah, Art Pope, who basically funded the Republican Party's rise to power and the gerrymandering and all this other stuff that happened in North Carolina in 2010, and now the governor has made him the budget director. So this multimillionaire gets to oversee a cut in his own taxes and a raising of the taxes on working people. All those areas that you listed, from the environment to LGBTQ rights to labor to education, that the Republicans have been taking a meat axe to all of these things. And basically the only folks that they've been given props to helping out are rich folks like Art Pope.
It has really, I think that is exactly right. It has really been an avalanche of legislation, that folks in North Carolina feel like it's totally out of touch, with North Carolina's history. We've seen them denying emergency employment benefits, expanding, refusing to expand Medicaid. They're cutting funding for public education. They repealed the Racial Justice Act in North Carolina. And, one of the things, that we're working most closely with North Carolina NAACP on is fighting back against this monster voter suppression law that got passed this session. That's really the worst that we've seen in the country in recent history.
And what? Give me some examples.
Yeah, so this law it's really amazing. It has gone after just about every way that people vote. Who can vote, where they can vote, when they can vote, and how they can vote. It goes after same-day registration. It cuts back early voting opportunities for folks across the state. It prohibits college IDs and local government IDs for being used for voting, and it implements this very strict voter ID requirement, one of the strictest in the country. So, we're challenging that law right now, Tom, in federal court on behalf of the North Carolina NAACP. And, I think the people of North Carolina really made their voices heard this last weekend that, trying to suppress the vote is not going to work in North Carolina.
Yeah. Do you think so? Is it possible that this was the largest, arguably civil rights march in a southern state since the 1960s.
Mm-hmm.
And yet it got no coverage. And at least outside the state, I don't know. I have no idea what the in-state media did with this. But is it not inconceivable that in this post-Citizens United era where the Supreme Court has discovered that money is protected by the First Amendment and that corporations are protected by the 14th Amendment, that that corporate money that our Pope has and that, you know, and all the other outside billionaires who have been contributing and millionaires, multimillionaires who have been contributing to the Republicans in North Carolina, I mean, they're shutting down voting, places in student areas and minority areas. They're just blatantly going about this. I mean, is there a chance that they'll get away with this on and on? I mean, they already have to a large extent. That they'll just be able to continue steamrolling along.
I have to say, I think that there's no chance.
Really?
And I think part of that is because of the good work of folks like you in helping to get the word out about what's happening. But more importantly is the work that's happening on the ground in North Carolina. We're seeing, this 80,000 people didn't show up out of thin air. They have been mobilizing across that state in ways that I haven't seen in recent history. And what you're seeing now is this group that turned out this weekend, and to stand with North Carolina NAACP and the rest of the coalition. They are fired up, and they have really made a commitment to focusing on a grassroots mobilization plan this summer to take back that state and make it clear that North Carolina is not for sale.
Right. Well, that's marvelous, and I'm really glad to hear your level of enthusiasm, because I know it's so easy to look at these situations and these enormous piles of money and the gerrymandering that's been done that can't be undone until 2020, and so now it takes three voters to elect a Democrat to the one voter to elect a Republican in the state of North Carolina, and which is just unheard of. I mean, it should be 1-to-1. It's so easy to look at this and go, oh no, but you're right. People have to. We still have a ways to go. So get over to advancementproject.org and check out how you can participate and how you can become part of the solution in North Carolina. Caitlin Swain, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you, Tom. Have a great one.
Thanks. You too. Good talking with you. This is our work. This is really important stuff.